Hey Team Alvarez, how's it going today? Along with everybody else out there. It's Coach here. It's Friday evening, February 10th, 2017. On my way down to Houston. Got the Houston Open this weekend. Got a small handful of competitors going to compete this weekend, so heading down there. About an hour or so into my drive, maybe a little longer. Then when I heard something earlier this morning on one of the podcasts I listened to, kind of wanted to share it with you guys. Also, it's kind of helped me stay awake because I'm not a really good driver. Kind of fall asleep kind of easily, So figured it'd be a good time to kind of put this out there while I'm driving. The topic is going to be know your worth. Do you know your worth? Do you know what your value is? Your self-value, your self-worth. And I think a lot of people that I talk to don't really know their value, their self-worth. And I think they sell a lot of people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis, or if I run into them after a while or whatever, have a conversation, they sell themselves pretty short. I used to do that quite a bit myself, and over time, listening to certain things and doing certain things, I realized, hey, I'm worth a certain amount. Whether it's a person to person relationship, friendship, or a business relationship, or whatever. I feel like the amount of work that I put in, the kind of grind that I put in, the kind of person that I am. Again, like I said in all my videos, I'm not perfect, but I do try to be a good person, try to help other people. So I feel like my value, my self-worth should be a lot, and is a lot, and I look at myself like I should have a high self-worth. So on the podcast this morning that I was listening to was Eric Thomas. For some of you guys that don't really know who Eric Thomas is, you should, because if you're trained with me, he's the one talking in the majority of all the videos that I play when we're warming up and training. But he's from Michigan, he's from Detroit. High level motivational speaker. I listen to him all the time. I relate to him quite a bit. We're from the same area pretty much. I'm from Saginaw. It's about an hour 45 minutes, 2 hours north of Detroit. So I listen to him a lot. And one of the things that I caught on his podcast this morning was, knowing your self-worth, knowing your value, and that really hit home because, a lot of the conversations I've been having lately with people, whether it be through, messaging some people that I just, reconnected with back home in Michigan, or, just there on the mat talking or messaging, what have you. When I read the messages or I listen to the conversations, the person talk, I feel like a lot of people just sell themselves short because they just don't put a high price, not a dollar amount, but just a high price far as your self-worth on who you are. So you sell yourself short in a lot of different areas. And I think that's huge, because once you know who you are and what you're contributing and what you can do in a personal relationship, friendship, business relationship, and you understand that, I think you can value yourself a lot more, not just settle for just any old thing. So what he was talking about in the podcast, he gave an example of how it's Mr. Eric Thomas and then his business partner, Mr. CJ. He's kind of the man behind the scenes. He's the one that kind of sets up all the speeches at all the businesses and colleges or wherever they do them at. He's the one that you connect to get Mr. Thomas to come and talk. Well, they were talking about how there was a company that wanted Mr. Thomas to come and do a motivational speech for their company, and they were previously charging, I think, like $7,500 or something like that for one motivational speech. And at that time, they thought, in the podcast, they said they thought it was like $1 million. Like they can't believe they were getting like that much money. And, you know, as you get better at your craft and doing more and more work and you're grinding even harder, you know, Mr. Thomas was like, hey, next one we do, because I feel like I'm worth more now, we're gonna go for $10,000. And Mr. CJ was like, wow, man, you know, it's a lot, but okay, you know, that's what you say you want, that's what I'll do. So another company called, get Mr. Thomas to come do the speech. He tells them what the price is, and the company says, okay. He said they were really cool. We'll get back with you shortly. They got back with him, and they said, hey, 10,000 sounds good. Said we got one request, and they said, okay, well, what's the request? Well, you know, we'll give you the 10,000, but can Mr. Thomas do the speech in a suit? And Mr. CJ, the business partner, was like, kind of chuckled, laughed a little bit, and was like, yo, I don't even know if he owns a suit, because I never seen him in a suit. You know, because Mr. Thomas, in all his motivational speeches, he's got the TGIM. Thank God it's Mondays. Every Monday he puts out these videos, and that's kind of how he got famous, stuff like that. But he's always in a ball cap, hoodie, and some jeans and some sneaks, you know. And that's his look. That's what he does his speeches in, no matter where he's at. And he wasn't about to change it for anybody. So Mr. CJ says, okay, well, let me ask. So he gets a hold of Mr. Thomas and, hey, you know, they agreed to the 10,000 like you wanted, but they got one request. They want you to wear a suit. Mr. Thomas was like, no deal. You know, either I do it the way I normally do it, or I just don't do it at all. So Mr. CJ is like, okay, I'll call and tell him. So he called and told him. Person on the other end was like, hey, you're really gonna give up 10,000 just for not wearing a suit? Mr. CJ was like, well, he's like, hold up, that's not me, that's Mr. Thomas. He goes, if you want a mid-level speaker, I come and do it for you. I'll wear a tuxedo if you want and serve drinks. That was funny. Sorry, I just thought it was funny. He goes, but you won't get Mr. Thomas, you'll get me. And the company said, okay, well, no deal. So no deal on both ends. Didn't never happen. So they're talking and they're explaining how another company called later on and was like, hey, need Mr. Thomas. We'd like Mr. Thomas to come do a speech for us. You know, what's the price or whatever? What's the details? Mr. CJ gives them details. Tell him it's 10 grand. The company says, okay, let me get back to you. Call back. Okay, we got one request. Mr. CJ's like, oh man, I already know what that is. You know, he kind of just had it in his head already. They were going to ask for him to wear a suit again, a different company this time. Well, the company was like, hey, can Mr. Thomas come do his speech in his hoodie, in his ball cap, in his tennis shoes? And Mr. CJ was like, yeah, absolutely. They said, well, that's how we know him. That's how we see him on the videos. That's how we recognize him. And when he comes in, we want everybody to just know right away off the bat, hey, there's Eric Thomas. And there you go. You know, they get the price they want. He stuck true to himself and his look and who he is, and he didn't change it for anybody. And I think that's huge. That's why I feel like I had to share that with you, because lately, just after talking to everybody, so many different people in the last few weeks, I think a lot of that, I see a continuum of that, of just people not really knowing what their worth, what their self-value is. And you know, I think more people have to pay attention to that and notice that, because now again, if you're not putting in the work, you know, if you're not grinding, you're not really getting in there and growing and developing. Like Mr. Thomas, he asked for more money because he's constantly developing. He's constantly making himself better. You know, I use me an example. You know, just always every year just trying to just get better, just trying to, you know, whether it's competition, whether it's teaching techniques, the way I teach techniques, you know, learning new techniques or whatever. It's just always trying to develop and to grow and not just stay the same way, you know. But if you're staying the same way, you're not really growing, you're making bad decisions, making some poor choices, you really can't expect much more than that from other people if you're just not really putting in the work and not really changing for the better. So, you know, you want to stick to yourself and be true to yourself, but also you can't really ask for something else if you're not really trying to grow and improve. So if that's you, if you're doing that, you have to understand, if you accomplish some great things and you're doing some great work behind the scenes, understand what your worth is, what your value is. Don't settle for just anything. You know, I'll give you a couple examples. You know, coming up, you know, I was hanging around a certain group of guys at one point, and then I started hanging around with a couple other guys, and you know, kind of try to fit in. You know, I think everybody tries to fit in a certain type of group at one point or another, where it be high school or college or whatever. And after a while, I just felt like, you know, I was trying to be more in and be a part of the crew than the crew was trying to be a part of me. And after a while, I just felt like, well, you know, that's not cool, you know. So I guess I'll just go off and just do my own thing, because I just didn't feel like I was getting the same love in return. You know, I felt like I was just kind of put more into the relationship than the other way around, you know. So, but it's all good, you know. That's just that's how things work out. You know, no hard feelings or anything like that. That's just the way the relationship was, you know. And you just have to recognize that somewhere in there, hopefully sooner than later, that, hey, you know, I'm putting in all this work, but I don't feel like the other end's putting in the work, so I need to make a change. I need to try and do better. I had another scenario earlier this afternoon before I left. Kind of situation came up. Felt like, you know, one person was trying to be a part of this group, but I didn't feel like the group was trying to put the same amount of work in for that individual, that person. And I was telling the person, like, hey, you know, don't sell yourself short. You gotta be better than that. Like, you've done so much, achieved so much, that you shouldn't just, you know, go down some notches just to accept them to like you, just to accept them to have you be a part of their, you know, to have their friendship, and you're lowering your value of yourself. You know, that's just not cool, you know. Sometimes, you know, you really want to be a part of something, and that part of something don't want to be the same with you. And, you know, it just can't, it won't work out. It just won't work out, because you're going to sacrifice yourself so much, and they reap all the benefits, and you barely get back any dividends in return. It's just not, it's not good, you know. I've heard other people talk on the mat, you know. Yeah, you know, I whether it be competition or whatever. I'll give you an example. You know, certain individuals know how good they are. It's just when it comes to come out to compete, now they're not that good. I don't know if I can do that. But on the mat, on a day-to-day basis, they know they're good. They see how well they do against other belts or what have you. But when it comes to step up in another arena, it's the same thing. We're doing the same exact thing, except for the fact that it's against somebody else, and now all of a sudden you can't do it. It's just your mindset. Your mindset's all wrong, and you have to make sure you're aware of, hey, you know, I'm good. I can do this. You know, I'm a beast too. The other person's a beast. I'm a beast. We're just gonna have to just go at it and see which beast wins, you know, and that's it. But I think sometimes when we go up against opponents or you know, just other arenas, we kind of take the value away from ourselves, even though, you know, deep down inside that you belong there, and you can you're supposed to be there, but you just kind of talk yourself out of it, you know, and lower your self-worth and your value. So, you know, really pay attention to who you are as a person. If you're continuing to grow and get better, and your whatever craft it is, whatever if it's your work, your school, you're going from your bachelor's to your doctorate, and even after that or whatever, you know, you're taking workshops, you're doing seminars, you're doing this, you're doing that. Man, your value is going up every time you do one. You know, every year you're trying, every year you're adding more and more information and getting better. You're worth more, no doubt about it. So, you know, the same thing with me. That's just what I try to do every year. I know every year, you know, I'm getting better at my craft, my, you know, teaching, competing, understanding the game better. You know, I know that I have a certain value, and I'm not going to lower that for anybody just because, you know, they think they might think differently. You know, now if I'm not putting in the work, I'm not growing, I'm staying mediocre, I'm staying average or below average, then yeah, you know, my value is going to stay the same, and that's where it's going to stay, you know. But as long as you're working hard and you're staying on that grind, you know, and if you accomplish some great things, understand that you accomplished some great things and that people should respect that. And if they don't, then you need to move on to the next group of people or the next business relationship and go do business with somebody else, because you know, that you're just shortchanging yourself. So anyways, felt like that was a good topic. It's kind of been on my mind all day, and you know, like I said, got this drive down to Houston. I felt like this kind of helped me with that, stay awake a little bit, plus kind of just share some nuggets. You know, I feel like whenever I hear something, you know, if I can get the information to you, and it can help you, one or two people, whatever, then you know, then it's doing good. You know, and again, all those out there that are doing all the right things and making the right moves, you know, keep it up, don't stop, because, you know, it's got you to where you've gotten so far, and you need to keep that going, you know. So you guys have a great evening. Make sure everybody gets to the class, get the classes tomorrow. Every classes are like normal, everything will be up and running, and then I'll keep you posted on the 2 days. It's a Saturday Sunday tournament, and I'll keep you guys posted on the Facebook pages and stuff like that. All right, you guys have a great evening. Talk to you soon.